in time. But I'm here mostly to introduce our Pennsylvania Western University President, Dr. John Anderson. Dr. John Anderson has been part of this event since last year at least. And he also has a background in business. And of course, he's a leader. He's the leader of this institution. And he's here as he was last year to support the conversation, to lead us in the event, in the start of the event, and just to motivate and just inspire the fact that we are in this together, women in business. And when we say women in business, of course, I'm glad to see the boys. It doesn't mean boys cannot be here. I was wondering, but women in business happen with men in business. And to empower the women, that takes men and women. So this is like all of us in business, but we are showcasing the women. With no further ado, let's help me welcome Dr. John Anderson. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. It is so good to see all of you on all three of our campuses today, sharing this experience. And I want to especially welcome you to this Women in Business panel discussion and encourage you to lean into this networking event. I'm glad we have men here supporting the women in business and working together. It is wonderful to see all of you today. And it has been fun to watch this event grow, continue from what was done last year and building on last year's program. It's opportunities like this that bring special people together with accomplished professionals, students, faculty, and staff, having meaningful conversations about careers, about leadership, and about the many paths forward for students after they graduate. So I welcome you here and encourage you to lean in. I want you to know at PennWest, career readiness remains a central priority for everything that we do. You and I both know the workforce itself is continuing to evolve. It is going to be shaped by technology, by innovation, and your success in that career and in our current economy will largely depend on not only your technical knowledge, but your ability to socialize, to work with others, to network, to pick on social nuances, and understand how you can add value in any environment. This month, we're also celebrating Women's History Month. So this is a great time to have a women's business panel like we're having today. And to our students, I want to encourage you to make sure that you're doing exactly what you do today. That is to be proactive, to take advantage of every opportunity that you're given, to ask questions, to lean in, to learn a little bit, and to listen carefully to people who have sat in your seat and are now sitting at different seats and standing at different podiums. If you can do that, these events and your proactive choices will help you prepare for a more successful career than you could have in any other way. Today, we have had the opportunity to have a wonderful group of people put together this event. You'll hear from expert panelists who are working in the fields and look forward to listening to their advice to you now, because they know what you went through and are going through, and they've made the transition, and they can help you prepare for that. I would also like to thank Dr. Herr's marketing students for designing this year's promotional materials, the planning committee, including female faculty from the Department of Business, Economics, and Communications, along with our Career Center and our core office team. And I want to take us a minute. We have the opportunity to have many connections at PennWest on all of our campuses. I want to take a minute and recognize a very special guest who's with us today. We're honored to welcome Erie Mayor Daria Devlin, a proud PennWest alumna, who is only the second female elected to that office in the city's history. Her leadership and service exemplify the impact that you're preparing to make in your careers. So Mayor Devlin, she has graciously agreed to share a few comments. She's on our Edinburgh campus. I'll now turn the time to her to welcome you and hope you enjoy the day.
Thank you, President Anderson, for that wonderful intro. I'm so grateful to be here with all of you today. As was noted, my name is Daria Devlin. I am the mayor, recently elected mayor of the city of Erie. I'm a proud PennWest Edinburgh graduate, have my master's in educational leadership from here. The question was asked to me, what building were you in here on campus? I said, well, I did a virtual program, so that's not exactly fair, but I did feel that I was supported throughout my educational process here on campus and certainly at home. I'm so grateful to be here and to listen to the panel today. I want to say to you two things. First, as we celebrate Women's History Month, I think it's important always to talk about the role that women play in leadership. The style that we have in business, in government, in education is different, but it is important. I think we bring very particular qualities to our work. I'm excited to hear from our panelists from all over the state today as they talk to us about the things that we need to understand. And what I really want to say to all of you is this: leadership is our future. In the city of Erie, we're very focused and understand that our youth, our leaders of tomorrow, they are the ones that we're doing this work for. So to look out and see so many of you who will be our leaders of tomorrow, to know that you are coming and availing yourself of opportunities for networking and learning, this is exactly the things that we want to see and support. As we grow Erie, as we grow the region, you're going to be an incredibly important part of that. So thank you so much for having me today. Looking forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Dr. Jingze Jiang, and from the Department of Business, Economics, and Communication, and representing the Event Planning Committee. And first of all, I want to say welcome everybody attending this event from Edinburgh campus, Clarion campus, California campus, and also online. And so, Mayor Devlin, thank you so much for your inspiring word, and also a warm welcome home. And so, it's a really great honor to have you here. And also, our thanks also go to President Anderson, Associate Dean Vega, and all the university leaders for their support. And a special thank you to Enterprise Mobility for sponsoring this event for the second year in a row. I also want to thank our online moderator, Chris, and also our IT and catering staff for here to supporting us. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our panelists. Today, we have an incredible lineup of women leaders join us across all three campuses, each bringing unique experiences, perspectives, and a story to share. So let's meet them. So for the panelists, when I call your name, would you mind wave your hand to the audience? So for the audience, would you mind hold your applause to the end? So let's starting from Edinburgh campus. So we have Jolene Bush. And she's the marketing manager at the Snaptite, and she also a proud PennWest alumni. And the next to Jolene is Amanda Duncan, and she is the founder of Career Consultants. So now let's move on to PennWest Clarion. So we have Jody Lewis. So she's Apple Fest coordinator. And next to Jody is Melissa Bauer, Executive Vice President of Curry Bell Company. She's also a proud PennWest alumni. And now let's move on to PennWest, California. Okay, so we have PennWest, California. We have Alycia Baker. So she is a Group Talent Acquisition Manager at Enterprise Mobility. And also we have Dr. Angela Reynolds, CEO of YWCA Greater Pittsburgh. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to all of our panelists. Thank you. So we are truly grateful for your time and your willingness to share your insight and experience with our student and the community. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Stephanie Adam from PennWest, California to kick off our panel discussion.
Thank you so much. Can everybody hear me? We good? Okay. All right. So it's my honor to ask the first couple questions. We'll start with the ladies here with me and then hopefully be able to pass it off a little bit to Edinburgh and Clarion. So the first question we have is, could you start off, one of you, it doesn't matter, whoever's interested, by sharing a brief, interesting glimpse into your typical workday? What's one unexpected or surprising element of your daily routine?
I'll start. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So, good morning. First, let me just say that I'm a mother of four, so I have 3 adult children out of the house, but I still have a high schooler. So my typical, like a glimpse into my work day is understanding that I'm starting off with having to balance that. And I also have a mother who suffers from Alzheimer's dementia. So how do I work that in? So I actually start with just really looking at my calendar because that determines what I'm going to wear, how I do my makeup, and like seriously, like, do I have to be camera ready like today? But then the other piece is what's and like, you know, you the usual go through email, do your meetings, blah, blah, blah. But what's really interesting to me is the days that I have hardly anything on my calendar and I look at it, I was like, yes, this is a free day, is the busiest day. It never fails. It never, ever fails. It is the busiest day. And I go home afterwards like, what the heck happened? And so I did share with Dr. Shalit, I started putting fake meetings on my calendar that are meetings with me just so I can get a break.
Love
So
it.
tip to you, do that when you get older.
That's great. Would you like to share?
That is so funny because I had a fake meeting on my calendar. Yes, I can totally agree with that. I think people see you replying to your emails and like, oh, she's available. But yeah, so a glimpse into my workday. I'm a little different in the fact that I have a husband and 2 dogs, but no kids. And I usually start my day by taking my dogs for a walk and head into the office. And very similar, I wonder, like, do I have to be camera ready today or no? So it depends how I dress, what I choose to wear, how I do my hair, all of that. So I do prefer to work in the office. I know a lot of people like to work from home, but I like to go in 5 days a week. It just helps me focus a little bit better. And then I do a lot of first round interviews for enterprise. I support all of our staff with helping them prepare for promotional interviews, things of that sort, because I'm a recruiter. One surprising element of my daily routine is something that one of my first managers at enterprise actually gave me this advice. Every morning, wake up 30 minutes earlier than you need to and do something for your mind. So the 3 things that I rotate between is exercise, meditation, and reading. So every morning I wake up 30 minutes early, earlier than I have to, and I do one of those 3 things, and it's a really great start to the day.
Awesome. I'm going to pass it to Clarion. Would either of the ladies or both ladies at Clarion like to answer that question?
Sure. I'm very similar. I will wake up every morning and go for a hike. And I consider that my time to plan out my day, run through what's important during the day that I've got to make sure I get done. And then once I get to the office, I kind of take a look at the markets. What's the natural gas market doing? Because I'm in the energy industry. And how's that going to affect me? The other thing I look at is what the financial markets are doing. And then I try to get up and walk through my office and see all my people that work there, which is 20. And I do that just to look at them and see that they're okay. And if they need something from me that I forgot about, which, you know, sometimes I can get hundreds of emails a day and there might be something missed. They tell me, hey, I need you to respond on this and that. I think it's a good way just to touch base with all your people that you see and work with every day.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So when I saw this question, I'm like, my workday is anything but typical. So including scheduling myself to leave and be here on time, so I'm apologizing to all of you. But anyway, I also wake up early. I love to journal. I love to read. I also hike. I live by a lake, so I often just go down to the lake and put my feet in the water for a few minutes. And my back patio just looks into the woods. And so I take a little me time as well, because sometimes it's the only time I get. And my daily routine at the office is to go in. Someone once told me not to look at my emails for the first 30 minutes of the day. And because then we're stuck at our computers the rest of the day. So I usually take a walk to our coffee shop. I stop and visit some businesses downtown, go back in and kind of just sit there for a few minutes. For the last 4 years, I've worked by myself. So I've learned to appreciate that little bit of time, and like putting fake meetings on your calendar. I sometimes keep the door locked for an extra 30 minutes and keep the lights out so no one knows I'm in there yet.
Would our ladies at Edinburgh like to take a shot at answering this one? And you're me. Oh, there you go.
Good. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. A typical day for me, I'm an early riser, so 4:30 typically or 5. I am also a lollygagger in the morning, so I tend to use the solid hour that I have or hour and a half to really do things around the house, feed my dog and cats and all that fun stuff. But at the office and in a production setting, going out on the floor is very important. To be seen by our employees is incredibly important to bridge the gap between, the wall of the office and the production floor. So always like to walk the floor, make sure I check in with folks and echo the sentiments in terms of people and relationships. I think if you're able to check in with people on your team, as well as people that you work with every day, that goes a long way. So making that investment of time, not just getting behind your computer. On the actual role side of being a marketing manager, really it sits between strategy and execution. So I've got my tabs going on my browser. I check in on all of our accounts, any campaign performance, things like that. We also have a lot of relationships with influencers and educators in the fire service. So checking in with them, we have a small marketing team, but we also have a team much larger than ourselves that we work with every day. And really also try to keep in mind we call them our 3 Ps and an I, but essentially Snaptight's core values, which are people, protection, performance, and innovation. Keeping those in mind as I go through my morning is also very important.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So I think my day is a little bit less structured. I have 3 kids. So my kids are 13, 10, and 6. And the first 4 hours of my day are spent feeding and clothing and getting them ready to school and getting them off to school before I head into my office. And I work on a lot of different projects. I work with different clients. So at the beginning of the week, I like to kind of take a full scan of what's coming up, what meetings I have, who I'm meeting with, and then set my priorities for the week. And then day to day, I'll kind of review, okay, I'm meeting with this person over here about this, we're talking about this project, and I'll set like 3 to 5 goals for myself for the day of things that I want to accomplish so that I can move the needle forward across the board. And then I have to leave kind of midday to then go get those kids again, bring them back home, get them fed again, get them settled into their activities. And then I typically start working again around like 6 or 7 at night for a couple of hours to finish up. So this is what works for me right now in this stage of life. It's not traditional, but it gets the job done.
All right, so our second question that we have for you, and again, we'll start with our California panelists, is looking back, what was a pivotal moment or experience that solidified your decision to pursue this profession? And subsequent to that, what drives you to stay, to continue working in this field today?
I'll take this one first. So I started my career a little bit differently than where I am now. Now I am a group talent acquisition manager, but I started in the radio industry. So I graduated college, did that for a little bit, and I found myself really not liking it. So I wanted to try something new. And I found the enterprise management training program very broad. You could learn a lot of different things in it, so it appealed to me. And when I was in the program, I started to learn about different areas of business that I really never knew I could have a career in because I was just so focused on going into a career in radio. So when I was early on with enterprise, one of the recruiters had asked me to go to a career fair with her at the school that I went to, which was Rider University. And I went, I had a really great time. I really enjoyed talking to people. And at the same time, I was a manager, so I really enjoyed helping people, guiding people through their career path. So I started to think that a career in HR was something that would be right for me. So that's really what did it. Going to the career fair with one of the recruiters, I kept the connection with her. And then when a position opened on that team, I was able to interview for it. And what drives me to still do it is just I really love helping people. I love guiding people. And one of my favorite things is being able to meet someone on campus, keep a relationship with them, and then hire them and see them grow and succeed with the company.
Thank you.
For me, I actually started off at a nonprofit for like a year, but then went into academia for 12 years. And honestly, it was a student reference that solidified it for me because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like the best job ever. This is really, and I'm selling it to the student as they're asking me to serve as their reference. It's like, I will say glowing things about you. Then I was like, I wouldn't mind doing something like this. And so that's when I decided to leave academia and head into the nonprofit sector. I didn't pursue being a CEO. That's just something that happened along the way. And if we have time outside of this panel, we can talk a little bit more about that. But it was really like, how do I get closer to the work? And by then I'd already had like well over 1,000 students that were out there doing their statistics stuff and changing the world. And I wanted an opportunity to change it in a different way.
Anyone at Edinburgh? And then we'll end at Clarion because our Clarion faculty is going to ask the next question.
Yeah, going back to, again, becoming a mother. By the time I had my third child, it had become almost untenable to work like a traditional 9-to-5 job. It was very difficult to find employers who are willing to be flexible enough to allow mothers to do the unpaid work that they do at home in addition to a paid career. And I was tired of feeling like I was failing in every area of my life. So I decided to start consulting full time and be able to find work that utilized my skills that I found rewarding, and also to determine a wage for myself that I knew I was worth. Because what will happen to a lot of women when they become mothers is they get put into these like part-time jobs that are pretty low wage and low skilled. And you'll see women who come from incredible backgrounds and education doing work that is just frankly not up to par for what they're capable of. So I was able to kind of figure out something that worked for me better and was very successful in it. And now, 3 years into that, one of my clients that I've had from the beginning offered me a full-time job as a director of operations within their organization, helping them scale multiple companies within their portfolio. And because they already know who I am, what I'm capable of, they know, okay, we can give Amanda the kind of autonomy to determine her schedule, when she's doing things, how she's doing things, and we know we can trust her to do that. So it was a little bit of a winding road to get there, but it was a necessary path to make sure that my career is aligned with my own goals in life and allowing me to do what's most important to me, which is raise my family.
What I was going to share is, for me, I think my career has been influenced by a lot of badass women and a couple of good guys, as far as where I've taken things in the time since I left Edinburgh. So always have had a door open from the time I graduated Edinburgh until my time here. I actually joined the campus as an elementary and special education major. I was working at a local tanning salon, and a woman thought that she, found me to be, I guess, incredibly good at communicating and said, hey, you should consider speech communications. And I said, what is speech communications? I had only ever been exposed to really the secondary education slightly. So thought about it and switched majors and came over to Dr. Gibson and the entire comms team, and never have looked back since. Did my internships in marketing and communications and have never left Erie, been very successful. Did have a very large career shift about 2 years ago when I left nonprofit leadership and came into manufacturing in the fire service. And it is an incredibly different environment. I'm very thankful to work with a great team that we're figuring it out as we go, and we've made a lot of good strides. So I think permission to ask yourself if what you're doing is what you want to be doing 5 years in, 10 years in, but really also taking advice and surrounding yourself with really good people.
Awesome. Thank you. And then at Clarion, and then Dr. Herr will take over with asking questions.
Okay, thank you. First, all of you women in the room should make Amanda your new hero. It's very hard to stick up for yourself, even in today's world, as a woman, let alone to set your own goals and to be able to follow through with them. So congratulations to you. What was a pivotal moment for me to solidify my decision to pursue my profession? Well, I will tell all of you, I don't know if I ever had a pivotal moment. I have done an amazing amount of jobs, and each job led me to the next job. It wasn't what I was looking for. It wasn't a plan to leave where I was. Somebody just came and spoke to me, which was a blessing in disguise. And so I moved on. And I've realized today that each of my former jobs, whether I thought they were great, whether I thought they were and the people I worked for taught me lessons. And today I can write about those lessons and talk about those lessons and talk about those people who got me where I am today. I realized I'm called to serve in whatever capacity I'm in, and to work with people and to really guide people in their decisions and their dreams and what they'd like to pursue. So I'm in a little different situation right now. I've just exited as the director of the Chamber of Commerce in Franklin, and doing Apple Fest, which I've done for 18 years, but it's solely my program just now until October. And in October, I'll be taking some time off and pursuing, probably doing some consulting myself, I hope. But yeah, I realize just wherever I go, I'm just going to serve and hopefully I can help people. So.
Oh, that's great.
Well, thanks.
The pivotal moment or experience that made my decision is I realized I was good at accounting and successful at it. And I have a knack for analyzing businesses and figuring out, how to make them better, how to make them more profitable, how to attune their product to make it more appeasing to their customer. And I didn't realize I had that when I started in accounting back here 40 plus years ago. And I think technology has helped with that. And it was just like, wow, hey, I'm good at this. So maybe I should figure it out and then share it. And that's what I do with my community service. I share my experiences and my talents with them and try to make them do better and to find different revenues or to make our community better. So.
Can everyone hear me okay? California and Edinburgh?
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Adam, for leading the discussion. I have two questions for all our panelists. My first question is, when are you hiring for jobs or internship? What are the top 2 or 3 essential characteristics you look for beyond technical skills? We are going to start off from California panelists. Either, Melissa or Jody.
Okay. Well, I look for entrepreneurial skills. And you might say, what are entrepreneurial skills? So I try to look for people who want to understand what they're doing. I don't want you to be a mechanic. I want you to understand why we do things a certain way. And then I want you to be able to tell me whether or not you can figure out a way to do it better that helps the business. And then another thing I look for is whether or not you're a team player. Are you intuitive enough to know that somebody is really underwater? I was a swimmer, so I do a lot of analogies to water. But if somebody's drowning because they're really busy at this time and you can't do your step in a process because they haven't finished theirs, can you jump in and do that? And can you help them in a way without making them feel bad? I think that's really hard to do. And I look for people like that. And finally, I like people who come up through sports. And the reason is I find that they have these skills, that they know, hey, today I am not swimming the freestyle, I have to swim the backstroke. Or I'm not the point guard, I'm the center. And you have to be able to chuck and jive or be flexible enough to be good at both. And you have to understand their position and what their job is. Because when you're on a team, you have a job and you need to execute your job well so that the next person can execute theirs and then the team wins. That's how I like to see my people whenever I interview and I ask questions to see whether or not people have those skills.
So my top 2 or 3 skills that I'm looking for first are communication. So your resume and your cover letter mean a whole lot to me. And if you can't communicate who you are in that, I probably am not even going to do an interview, right? I need to know why you want to come to work for us. And your verbal communication. We don't always all speak directly. We don't all speak in straight sentences all the time. That's life. But I need you to be able to communicate with me and chat with me about things and tell me things. If you can't communicate, how do I know you're struggling somewhere? How do I know that you don't like this part of your job? How do I know those things if you can't talk to me? The other thing I want to know, the second thing that's really important to me is, what do you know about my organization? I did interviews last year. I just worked with all the Franklin High School seniors for the last few weeks, and I shared this example with them. I did my interviews last year, and one of the young ladies I brought in to talk about lived 2 blocks from my office. I see her all the time. I know the things she's involved in, and she came in and I said, "What can you tell me about the Franklin Area Chamber of Commerce?" And the first 3 sentences weren't anything that we were. Although one of them was often, it's misconstrued in the public, is that we are run by the city, and we're really not, and I can forgive that one. But she said, "I know you have a lot of there's a lot of festivals." And she said, "But I have to tell you, I can't stand Applefest. There's too many people." She said, "I just can't stand that festival, and I just stay in my house all day." I'm like, well, end of interview, right? Because that's my event. And you have to work it all 3 days, and you have to communicate with those people all 3 days. But she obviously had to look to see who put Applefest on, and that was part of her job. So I always ask, like, what do you know about this? And I don't expect you to know everything, but I expect that you've Googled us, that you've looked through my website, and you realize a few of the things that we do.
Thank you so much. Can panelists from California answer to this question?
California, you're muted.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So the last 2 things that were said were absolutely fantastic, and I definitely agree. But one other thing that I believe is really, really important is the ability to be self-sufficient. Asking for help is absolutely okay and a thing that you should do, but before you ask for help, you should try to do it yourself. And when you ask for help, say, "I took steps A, B, and C, but I'm still not able to figure this out." And that's really showing the person that you're talking to, whether it's your manager or someone else you're working with, that you already tried to solve the problem, you took some steps. Just showing your work ethic.
Thank you. And I'll add to the list that's already growing. So the first one is commitment to, and actually it's probably 2, commitment to the position and to our mission. So in terms of the position, it's understanding, like, once you get into the internship, let us know if something has shifted or changed in your schedule. And so we have had situations where it's like, "Where's the intern today?" That's not a good thing. And so you definitely want to make sure that it's partly communication, but it's also an issue of, like, how are you committed to the job? The other thing is that our mission is eliminating racism and empowering women. And we want to make sure that people understand how we do that. And that means that we operate in ways that we are looking at issues of equity and how do we advance that, because that commitment to the mission then informs how you do the work. Like, hopefully you have the internship and, like, you have the resume, so we know that you can do the work, but now it's the how. And just a quick example, we are moving into AI, and we're a nonprofit organization, but at the same time, we still have to operate as a business. We still have a budget that we have to balance. And so how can we look at ways of expanding what we do through the use of AI? But because of our mission that governs how we do it. And so if you're going to contact us and there's an AI agent, she needs to sound like supportive and understanding and comforting and help you get through that situation so that we can hand you over to the real life person. They'll never make the final decision, but we have someone who worked as an intern with us to get that AI agent ready, and just having that person be open to learn and develop so that we could say, "She's not sounding the way we want her to sound and represent us. Yes, she's relaying information, but she's doing it in a very concrete, robotic way." And that's not the type of face that we want when we're dealing with trauma-informed approaches to our work. So that openness to learn as well and develop. And it's not to say that you don't know what you're doing, but it does say that you're here getting an internship because you want to grow and develop. So let us help you do it.
Thank you, Alycia and Angela, for sharing your perspectives. Can we hear from panelists at Edinburgh campus?
Everybody good? Okay. Agree. So many good words. We're making a great bank, and I've been taking notes from a lot of you already. But two words that haven't been mentioned. First is curiosity. And I think for us, marketing is always evolving, and the best interns that I have had are willing to question, willing to take initiative, ideate. Jim and our CEO's in the back. From Snaptight here, he always says you're not going to bankrupt the company, right? So with your ideas, you can come forward, you can be bold. I accept that, and I really, really look for it in candidates. And another word was ownership, and I think that again comes to initiative, but not waiting to be told what to do, just go do it kind of thing. So we live in a world, especially in marketing, that is very rapid pace. We are always going after the next thing. It's always evolving. So I am really looking for candidates that are willing to step right in, not be afraid to be bold, question, wonder, and definitely be curious.
Thanks. So lots of great things mentioned. I'll add ingenuity and accountability, particularly in startup environments. A lot of people are like, well, how do we do this? How do we do that? We don't know yet. We haven't created that process yet. So we're looking for people who are able to come into a situation, assess what's going on, take whatever resources are available to them, and then come up with a solution to solve that problem. And that's a great way to add immediate value in those environments, and not to be afraid to experiment or get things wrong. And to piggyback that with accountability, you will get things wrong. You're gonna mess up at some point. I think I mess up probably every day. But in those situations, you do not want your boss to find out about that from anybody other than you. You want to be the first person to say, hey, this went wrong, or I messed up here, or I didn't intend for things to go this way. And this is how I'm going to solve that problem. This is the plan I have to address it. You know, be ready with a solution yourself, rather than just kind of waiting for it to snowball and become a bigger issue. So in both those situations, what you're doing is providing value to the company and to your manager, and showing that you're a team player and you are ready to take that ownership of the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much, Amanda and Jocelyn. My last question to all our panelists is, can you describe the company culture at your workplace, and what aspects do you find most valuable? We'll start from panelist Sebastian's credit.
And all right, so my company culture is a little different, right? I've been the only person there for the last 4 years, but when I've been, and I have a board of directors, and I've had a variety of people on that board of directors throughout the years. And I've been fortunate for most of those that they supported what I brought to them. They supported me when I needed it. But when I've been able to bring in an intern or bring somebody in part-time to help me, what I want that culture to be is business-like, but safe and comfortable for them. I want them to know that they can come and talk to me, that they matter to me. And if something comes up, we're gonna work around that schedule. So I want it to be that they like to come to the office, not that they drag their feet and they drive 2 extra blocks before they get there in the morning. I want them to know that I value not only them as an employee, but as a person and their life outside of the office.
Well, I noticed that the panels are are set up with private sector and what I would call nonprofit. See, this is me analyzing. But in the private sector, for what I'm in, for the most part, we provide energy to a number of people. So we provide them with natural gas. And our motto is, we do the right thing. So if somebody in the middle of winter calls the office at 8 p.m. and says, I'm out of gas, we have people that can go out there and get them in gas, because they won't have heat. If I have an older couple that calls in and says, I can't pay my bill, we figure out a way to help them pay the bill so we don't shut off their electricity. And our company does the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And we see everybody as customers. So I also see my employees as customers. So when I have my employees, if they just had a new baby and it's tough at home, I say, we're gonna help you out. You can work from home. If your kid has something going on at school that you really want to go to, you can go. Make up your time if you have to. We'll figure it out. We try to treat you in a way that you will stay with us. Because retaining our people and our customers is the easiest way for us to be successful. And I don't have to retrain people and reintroduce you to the culture here. And then finally, I found that my culture at Cribble, which is we do the right thing, is different than governmental culture. So when I hire somebody who's worked at a government sector job, say, in mapping or something like that, they don't think of the job like we do. And I always have to say to them, now, listen, when you're here, you have to stay late. You don't get to leave at 4:30 just because that's what time the county shuts down, or that's what time the state is shutting down today. We stay. And I found that that's a culture sometimes that's hard for people who are outside of the private sector to come into my company. So I always try to ferret that out ahead of time.
Thank you so much. How about panelists at California campus?
Our culture, we try to model our mission, and in that we want to be a workplace that works for real life people. So for example, we have, some people don't realize this, we have a 7-hour workday. It was really difficult for me to get used to that because I was like, where's everybody going? And they're like, we're done, right? And so it's like, so we make sure, like most of our jobs, there are some that are 40 hours a week, but typically it's a 7-hour workday. We also, when you come in, it's not gradual. Once you make your 90 days, 27 days of PTO. So making sure, like if we're going to be out there advocating for paid family leave, then we need to offer it. We instituted a parental leave policy. And with that also, like looking at our policies, hearing from our employees, what are some things that might need to change? Where possible, we do allow for hybrid work situations. There are some where like our early learning center, that's not an option, right? So you can't work from home, but where we can have that, we do try to institute it. The other piece is, as it relates to all of that, it's still a culture of excellence. And to say that when we are dealing with our partner families, we don't call them clients, with our partner families, we want to be our excellent selves in that. Life is challenging. The times right now are challenging. And so it's a conversation with someone to say, is this really putting someone on a performance improvement plan? Or is there something else that's going on in their life where they need to kind of talk with HR and let's figure this out. And we learned this during COVID. We just needed to set up a wellness room because we had employees that had no choice. They had to come into work. And I was getting all of these, this person's on a performance improvement plan. I'm like, I think they're just stressed. So what can we do to help relieve their stress? We instituted the wellness room. Tell your supervisor, I need 15 minutes. And they took it, and such a shift. You have to care about people as people first. Yes, they work for you, but they're still people. And then if you ever have to do a separation, doing it with dignity and respect.
So the culture at Enterprise is definitely something that has kept me here for the past almost 12 years. I mentioned before, we are a promote from within employer, which means we really only hire entry-level employees and interns. So like one of the past panelists says, one of our biggest goals is to give you a really, really great environment to work in so that we can retain you and help you grow into a career. It's pretty common in our company that people will get promoted 3-4 times in their first 5 or so years with us. So there's a lot of growth. And it's very, very supportive. I always really like to say that you'll never have a manager that hasn't done your job before. So you're being trained and developed by people who really know the position and know some of the challenges you might be going through. Another one of my favorite parts of our culture is how much we give back to the community worldwide. So Enterprise has a foundation, and we open that foundation up twice a year to all of our employees and say, what nonprofits do you know of that could use some help in the local communities? And the reason we do that is we know there's a lot of huge charities that we work with that get a ton of attention, a ton of donations, but there are a lot of smaller nonprofits that don't and struggle. So that's why we really rely on our employees to give us those foundations and enter those requests. And as long as they're in good standing with the IRS, they'll be able to get a donation from Enterprise, and they can submit that every year. So that's something that we do, a way our employees can give back, but using Enterprise's money and not their own.
Thank you so much. Can Amanda and Jocelyn answer the question, please?
So I think two things I really try to stress. One is a culture of collaboration. I have the option that I can really work from anywhere, but I like to go to where the people are, because there's just something missing when you're on a Teams call all day long. You miss out on those kind of organic conversations that happen around a conference table or in the break room around a cup of coffee that are missing from this kind of fully remote work space. So I see the fact that I have the option to go and work with my coworkers in person as a benefit to the work that I do. And within the company I'm working in now and within my own business, I really try to stress that community piece of a company and keep that central. And the second is just like constant appreciation. People can be anywhere, right? They could be doing anything. They've chosen to work for you and for your company. And it's so important to recognize that. And that can be on a good day when they are just like killing it and knocking it out of the park, to call attention to that. But it's also some days just like, I know you're going through it right now and you showed up today, and I'm really appreciative you're here, and I'm here to support you in any way that I can. So seeing that human in your worker first, and keeping that central to how you operate.
I would just add, I think coming into a new industry like I did a couple of years ago, from nonprofit to manufacturing, as well as the fire service, right? So I have two at SnapTight, both very different for me in my career. But I think what was enticing to me is being able to be a part of creating the culture. And as someone that came in from the outside of both of those, manufacturing and the fire service, bringing my past skill set of nonprofit leadership and knowing the Erie community, and obviously having gone to Edinburgh, what can I bring to the company that will make it be a culture where we all exceed? But also, I think, just to speak a little bit to SnapTight, we are a manufacturer, and I heard words I did not hear in 12 years at being a nonprofit that I did in the first month. So it's been, definitely collaborative. We demand and really exceed expectations, continuous improvement. Also, this whole idea of being competitive was new for me, because I think in nonprofits, you don't get that as much. We have competition in manufacturing. We make a product, and so do other companies. So we're always talking about the competition, and I think that makes it fun in a lot of ways. And just, I think, always wanting to improve the business is also very common. So.
Thank you. Building a strong professional portfolio is crucial. What advice would you give to someone just starting out on how to effectively showcase their skills and experience? So this is kind of the best pieces of advice for someone starting out their career.
Couple of things I noted on this one. A dear mentor, Linda Stevenson, who runs Athena locally, and a lot of us have connections to Linda. Her husband passed away, and he was a mentor as well. And he said, Jolynn, you have to start your star file. And I said, well, what's a star file? So I had, my mom would send me when I was in the newspaper. If I was on social media, she would tag, but I never really put all of the ways I had succeeded in one place. So got a 2-inch binder out and I made copies of the times I was in the newspaper and on, different things that I had succeeded in my work and my extracurriculars. So I think creating a star file, but also not just owning your portfolio for the items that you create. If you're in marketing, you're going to have a lot of flyers, you're going to have a lot of social media posts, things like that you're managing and have executed on, but really trying to showcase your thinking. So not just your work, but your why came to mind as well. And I think that could really go a long way.
So I think this is kind of obvious, but networking, obviously you need to network, but the way you do that is so important. One thing I would suggest, and I returned to Erie in 2017. I grew up here. I moved away to Pittsburgh for about a decade and came back. And by the time I came back, I didn't know anybody. And I felt like I was starting my career over again a bit. So I challenged myself every month to reach out to somebody I did not know that was a leader in the community and ask them to have coffee with me. And I was told no 0 times. Everybody is so open. Maybe it's just here, but I think it's probably everywhere. It's so open to kind of putting a hand back and helping somebody move forward. And I try to return that favor anytime I can. So if you guys ever want to go out and grab a cup of coffee, come find me afterwards and we'll chat. But the other thing is getting yourself involved in the community, in organizations that exist. Because once you exit college, a lot of that is done for you here. It's made to be easy for you to find connections. But that ceases to exist. So you kind of have to put yourself out there and get involved. Again, in Erie, Jolynn mentioned Athena. That's been paramount to my success. I joined a co-working space called Radius in Erie. That is where all of my clients ended up coming from when I decided to go into consulting. And I was an active member of the Erie Young Professionals for a really long time. Not so young anymore, so I've kind of stepped back and let the next generation take over. But putting yourself into those situations is going to let you make so many connections, and you never know when those connections are going to come back and be helpful to you someday.
Thank you. California?
I'll start by saying we like the word WE is good. We work together, we work collectively, but also understand what was your individual contribution to whatever the outcome, the completion of the task. And so understanding that piece, and it's not arrogance to say that this is how I contributed. It's fact that is how you contributed, and starting to track that. And a piece of advice, like if you're looking for a particular position, like like this isn't where I'm going to stay for the rest of my life, then actually look at a job description and start to look at the work that you're doing now and how does it apply to that job description, and don't have it be so strict. Like it doesn't have to align perfectly. You're developing skills in what you're doing that are applicable to the areas that are being emphasized in terms of where it is. So that's one thing. And just like start your own little journal notebook that has those pieces. And so when it's necessary for you to pull them over, you can.
Mirroring a little bit of what she just said, using data to your advantage is really important when you're going to ask for something or negotiate for something. So anytime you're going to talk about a pay raise or a position change, title change, if you think you're deserving of a higher level title because you're working so hard, you should ask for it. But you have to have that data. So not just saying I deserve this because I'm working really hard, but I deserve this because I took this action which led to a blank % increase in this. So some examples like that, just using data to your advantage doesn't lie, it showcases everything you've done.
Okay. Okay, so I think that working with nonprofits and putting yourself out there is a good idea to really showcase your talents. And I do agree that you need to know where you're going. And know that the quickest line, people always think it's a straight line. You're not going to get there with a straight line. You've got to go here, and you get down here, and then you go up here, and you collect different skills by doing that. And it may take you a little longer. So the time frame isn't what's important. It's the fact that you're collecting skills and you're putting things into your bucket. And I try to visualize this stuff so that then whenever I go into a situation, then I figure out, what am I? What am I pulling out of the bucket? And when I was a trustee for Clarion University, we talked about this one time and I said, you know, sometimes I need to be the hammer. And that's when you pull out the hammer and you say, listen, let's all get to work. And sometimes I'm the wrench where I throw it into the middle of something and everything stops. Visualize what your role is and what your skills are, so then you can become that. Either it's a bucket, it's a toolbox. I tend to utilize the toolbox more. Sometimes I get the measuring thing, I don't even know, yardstick out. And I do that. But if you can visualize where you need to go and how to get there and realize it doesn't have to be a straight line, you'll get there quicker and you'll have more fun. Whether it's beyond the nonprofit where you say, hey, I'm going to do finances, even though I don't have that background, figure it out. So.
I would say too, sometimes we take a step back. You go backwards a little bit, and that's okay. Use it and then take the rest of the direction. But I want to tell you all to talk about yourself, to promote yourself. It's so hard to do. And when I was first starting out in work, in the work field, and when I had I had 3 jobs before I ever had an interview. And that first interview, I sat at a table like this and had 13 people sitting around firing questions at me. And I was scared to death. And I couldn't brag about myself. I didn't even have any idea how to do it. Thank God there were some good people in that room that knew me. But learn your skills, talk to your professors, talk to your family, talk to the organizations where you volunteer, and write those down. It's not bragging. It's how you move forward, and it's what's good about you. And then build those resources. So when you're applying for a job, you have those people you can call, and it's not always the same person. And talk to a variety of people and have that ready. So when something becomes available and you have the people to call and you know the skill set, and there's a lot of different words for certain skills, right? You may not think you have a lot of skills, but when you start writing them down and you sit down with somebody else who's been there and done that, they're going to give you the words you need to put on your resume to apply for that job. So.
Very good. Thank you so much. We have quite a few people joining us online, and I'd like to open it up. If anybody online has a question that they'd like to ask, you can put it into the chat. Or do we have any students in our live audiences who would like to ask a question to our panelists? Everybody's suddenly shy. Don't make me told you.
That's questions.
I ask a question for you directly. So you said you look at the markets whenever you first sit down, especially right now. I was just getting gas. The price of gas is crazy right now, like $3.99, almost $4. I'm just wondering, how do you react as a company? What's like your approach to handling situations like this where gas prices are increased and such?
Okay, so I'm in the natural gas industry, which is different than gasoline. Gasoline is a byproduct of oil, but they do somewhat run together. So I know what my break even is for my price. Okay, so I know what I need to do in order for our business to run in black. So natural gas is sold on NYMEX. NYMEX is just like the stock market, so it's a constantly changing price. So what I do is I look at a 12-month, 3-month, 6-month period, and if I'm hitting my break even and I know I can lock that price in, I do that day. And I don't lock in 100% because then I don't have the upside if the market goes up. But on the other hand, if I'm a little under for the month, I know I have other months that I'm going to catch that up. That's why I look at the market. And you might say, well, natural gas is different than my stocks and bonds that I have in my own portfolio, but it really isn't. So, you're young right now, and I'm gonna say, I would not go to a company that didn't have a retirement. Like that, they would be off my list just for that reason. Okay. Everybody needs either a 401k or a defined benefit plan. And then you'll watch the market and you'll see, wow, if I'm in large caps, this is happening. And that's very similar to what happens with gasoline, natural gas, and even electricity. So does that answer your question?
absolutely.
Okay.
Other questions? Okay, go ahead.
I need a mic or something.
Yep, I'm coming. Hold on. Hold on.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so for a lot of people around my age, this new economy is really hard to adapt to, especially when it comes to finding a job, finding a stable job, having stable payments. So what is some advice that you have about college students or anybody that would be going into the real world soon? And how do you guys as a company help employees adapt to this new world?
Edinburgh, want to tackle that first?
At least to the first part of your question. Maybe Jolyn, who's coming from a really large company, can address the second part. But I would say, do not discount entrepreneurship as a pathway for you as a college student. You can start your own business right now if you wanted to. You could get a jump ahead before you even graduate. It doesn't have to just be a side hustle too. There are countless resources in Erie County to help you do just that. You have an incredible one right here in this building on the second floor in the Edinburgh Beehive that can help you put together marketing, logos, branding strategies, websites, everything. There are accelerator programs. There's 5 labs in the Beehive itself. There's the Ben Franklin Technology Partners. There's the chambers around here. They are all exist to help businesses form. And there's, you don't have to be a certain age or have a certain skill set to be able to start that business. But if you have a skill that is marketable, you can create your own economy around it. And you just have to have the audacity to go out and get it for yourself. So there are more pathways than just like going to a traditional employer if that's makes sense for you.
I think the second part of your question was more tied to what businesses, companies can do. I think being employee-centric is really important. If you remember back when I talked about our 3 Ps and an I, our core principles at SnapTight, the first one is people, right? So we do that intentionally. It has been, no accident that we were able to, at SnapTight, bring back employees that had been furloughed. We were able to really take investment from our parent company and put it in a way that invested in the community and the people that we know that wake up in Union City every day and expect to come to SnapTight and work their job, and come to the Erie factory and expect to work their job. So I don't think there is a day that goes by that our leadership at SnapTight is not thinking about the people on the floor and what we can do to improve their situation. And if there is things that are keeping them up at night, I will guarantee you it's keeping our leadership up at night as well. And I think I shared it earlier, but ideation, right? We don't have all the answers. I don't know how to help you necessarily, but I think listening is first, and then being able to be proactive and think action oriented as well. Again, we always say we're not going to bankrupt the company. If we want to try some new employee engagement strategy, let's do that. Let's have people feel like they are heard and that we can come together and be a part of a solution.
Anyone in California who would like to address that question?
Go ahead.
I want to reiterate networks. It's a lot easier when you see something come across in terms of an application, when you're like, I can put a face with that name. And then the other piece is look for external resources. And so this larger question of how do you deal in this economy, there are some places you can go that can help you with financial planning, that can help you in terms of budgeting, figuring out what you actually need. Do a salary negotiation training so that you can actually negotiate your salary. So resources beyond I need the job, how do I live? There are lots of free options out there and some that have a nominal fee.
Anyone at Clarion who would like to add something?
Well, I think it's your expectation of what's the job that you first want. You know, go into, your first job's not gonna be your perfect job. So don't expect that. What you should do is if you get an offer or you see an ad on Indeed or something like that, think, well, what could this do for my portfolio? Which was, what was that, question 6? How does this make my portfolio stronger about myself? And that's what I would do to pursue that job. So I need this job maybe to understand manufacturing. Or this job, I'm in marketing, but this job has no marketing in it. But that's not to say that once you get in here, you can't offer some constructive advice for them. There might be something they don't even realize they're not doing. So don't put your barriers on yourself. Keep it wide open as possible so that you know there is no expectation. You're the only judge. Collect your skills, collect your experiences so that you can take it to where you really want to go 5 years from now.
Thank you. We have a question from Mary online. My question is for the mayor of Erie. How did you enter into politics as a career?
I'll be quick on that one. I would say same as the business, right? It's many of the same things, asking questions, availing myself of networks, making sure that I was building my network and being in the spaces I needed to be. I was in nonprofits as well. I would go to events and try to say, what can I offer here? The other thing I just want to say to all of you that I think is very critical, you must find a mentor. And if each of you does nothing else than, you know, today or when you leave your time here in undergrad or in your graduate program, find a mentor. Find someone that can help you, who's done what you want to do and can walk you through the steps. That was very critical for me. And maybe lastly this, follow your heart. So when I decided that I wanted to get into politics, folks came to me and said, you should run for this, you should run for that. And I said, actually, I was most passionate about education, so I ran for school board because that was where my heart sent me. And then after that, it was, I'm so much passionate about the city of Erie, that's where I'm gonna go. So don't allow yourself to be pigeonholed. Don't allow yourself to have someone tell you, go do that. Follow your heart, follow your gut. And I think that will guide you whether you're in business or politics.
Thank you. Could we give everybody a big round of applause? Now we're going to turn it back to Clarion, and Associate Dean Juanice Vega is going to give closing remarks.
Is this good, Josh?
Yes.
All right, I thought this was a fabulous event. First of all, I want to thank all of our external participants, Mayor Devlin, all of our panelists on all 3 of our campuses for giving us your time and all of the great input that you've had today. I'd also like to thank our committed staff from several different offices who've helped to pull this event together, and our faculty and our business economics and communication department. Their commitment to continuing this event has been outstanding, and I'm very proud, to be a part of that. Just to kind of summarize, I know I'm what's standing between everyone and the networking events on all 3 campuses. I look at all of you and I try to think back to those many decades ago when I was in your seat. And, there's so much that still has to happen in your professional life, your personal life, everything. You'll do jobs that right now you're not even thinking about. It's not even on your radar. But look at yourself as your own first investment. You are kind of like your own little mini business. You want to feed that business. You want to put positive inputs in. You also want to allow yourself the space to try new things. And I think it was Melissa that said, don't even think about a job that doesn't have some sort of a retirement. That may be where you land. It may not be. My own daughter right now is in a job that doesn't have retirement. But she needed that to gain some valuable experience that will then set her up for better jobs that will have that. So if you do take a job that doesn't, think about yourself and make sure that you are saving money. You know, whether you start your own Roth IRA or you know, some sort of way to continue to invest in yourself. You're investing right now with an education. If you put $20 a month in, it's better than not putting anything in. And it sets you up for, you know, a more solid foundation moving forward in your life. But it's great to see you all here, you know, just coming out and participating in things like this is invaluable. Everything like this that you do in your career, you'll pick up some piece of information that will help you and make you stronger and set you up for that next success that you'll have. And ask for help from anybody in this room, people that you're working with in the future. Everybody wants to see you succeed and do well. So I think I am ending the live stream, but at all 3 campuses, everyone needs to stay in the room in your seat, and we're gonna have someone on each campus who will give you instructions for the networking event. Thank you, everyone.